What's up, YouTube fam? Back for another one? Jesus, he must be deranged. Anyway, as deranged as me this week, I'm going a bit nuts because things aren't fucking happening as they should be. I've had a few cock-ups this week. So I've taken up my cock-up mug. And I'm hoping that things are going to improve slightly next week, hopefully. It's my own fault. It was just stuff that I never checked before I painted, and then I tried to fit it, and it didn't fit. Back brake, mostly, back disc, calipers, whatever. So I've had to send stuff away to get it machined, and it should be back in the next day or two. But this week I've got a few things I'm going over, fitting the engine mounts, oil cooler lines. My advice, don't try and make your own oil cooler lines. It's an absolute fucking nightmare. Bit of seat covering, engine mounts, back brake woes, fitting the footrests. That was another beaut. That's the benefit of building bikes from the ground up, and you don't know what parts are meant to go where because you don't have the parts to see where they go, you know. It turned out my footrest needed rubber washers and all sorts. And if I bought them off Suzuki, it's going to be the best part of £100. So obviously, being a tight arse, that was never going to happen. So I ended up making my own rubber washers, and I've made it fit. It works now, so that's fine. So anyway, grab yourself a cuppa, sit back, relax and enjoy. Welcome back to another thrilling instalment. We're back on the school Bandit. I've got an issue with my back caliper. I've painted up all lovely to match the swinging arm and all the rest of it. And the problem is, you see that bleeding nipple? It's clouting the carrier plate. This is what happens when you use calipers or carriers from different bikes and try and match them up because they look the same. They're not the same, as you can probably tell. The bolts don't line up. I've got two choices. You see the mark I've put on the body there of the carrier to the left of the bleeding nipple? I could file that out and ruin my powder coating, or I could use my other one, which looks absolutely identical to the one that I've just taken off. If you put them side by side there, looks identical, right? It's not identical, because if you look at the angle of the bleed nipple on that one, and then you look at the angle of the bleed nipple on that one, this one here is shallower. So I'm going to try this one, see if it clears. If it does, I'm just going to transfer the brake pads and everything else out of this one into this one. But this is just a small example. You see, it's finishing off bikes, it takes time and causes the most grief. You know, the building of the main part, like sticking the engines in and swing arms and all the rest of it, till you get to the point where you look like you've got a bike, you think, oh, it's just about finished. No, this is when the work starts, when you have to try and make everything fit. Talking of making everything fit, this is my exhaust. It came with the slab side. And I'm going to try and fit it because it's really, really lightweight. I don't know what make it is, but I suspect it's possibly an Acra Provic. Not sure. It's a 4-into-2-into-1, so it should be good for mid-range. But I'm not sure if it will clear the sump, because the Bandit sump has got a protrusion. Let me just show you what I'm talking about. Here's the dust-covered sump here. See, if you look at the state of that, it sits down pretty low. This is the front of the bike, by the way, as you sit on it. That sits down pretty low. And then, if you look at the slab side sump, which is under there, it's just got quite a small protrusion, shall we say. But I need to change this because the oil lines that I've bought for the cooler are for a Bandit. These banjos are away under the engine, and I really don't want that. I'd rather have them at the front. So I'd like to fit the Bandit sump, but I'll take this one off as well and see if the exhaust's going to clear it. Also got another side stand spring. I bought a new stainless one, wasn't too dear, but there's a difference. Yeah, it's not just a slight difference, is it? So there you go, more expense, you see. I thought, I've got the springs, because when I bought the stand, I says, have you got the springs, have you got the bolts and all the fixings? Yeah, I'll send them out to you. He sent them out to me, but they don't fucking fit. Just cleaning up these brake pins. They get caked with brake dust and, I don't know, whatever else gets corrosion, I suppose. But I've done one of them on the spinny wheel. Let's see. That bit doesn't matter so much because it's not in the contact of the pads. The bit between my fingers is, there's just a light bit of corrosion there, but we can live with that. That'll do. That'll be fine. Because it's not, you can't catch it in your nail, put it that way. So it's obviously just in the surface. So that'll do. I'm going to clean up the other one. Stick these new, genuine Suzuki brake pads in to the back. And we'll get the clips and whatnot, which are in here. And a bleed nipple. And we'll stick them onto this caliper, and then this one will fit. What a boost. Okay, we have a bigger problem than we thought. The problem isn't just with this bleed nipple fitting at the front, but if you look in there, yes, that's right, kids. The caliper is fouling on the wheel. So even if it did fit on the caliper in the front, it wouldn't fit at the back. So that's a major bummer. Now the reason I used this caliper hanger was because it's for a Busa, which has got something like a 220 disc, I think, something along that lines. And the Bandit's got a 240 disc. So my options now are to either find a smaller caliper that fits that bracket, or find a bigger disc and use the Bandit hanger, which I'll just show you there. I'm not sure if it'll pick up, but as you can see, it's bigger, higher than the Busa one by about 10mm, but that would mean getting a new disc. What a bummer. 90 quid for a new disc. Bullshit. Either that, or I could use a smaller caliper, which I might have an R1 one, but then I'd have to get a flipping carrier made up. These things are never easy, are they? But I never even thought to check that the caliper would fit for the wheel hub, which is pretty stupid on my part, because I had the same problem with the R1 wheel when I tried to fit it into my Z, I think it was. God damn it. But that's the problem, you see. All the newer calipers are like single piston. They've only got a piston on one side pushing the whole caliper body, so they don't need to be so wide in the back, you know. So this area is here behind the wheel. They're usually at an angle, and they're all obviously a lot narrower. So what I'll do is I'll dig out the calipers I have and see if I can get any of them to fit and take it from there, okay? But yeah, like I say, this is just part of the problem with finishing bikes. I know the caliper's upside down, it should be hung the other way, but I just did that to show you, you know, that's where it should be hanging, with the torque arm as well. What a bummer. Anyway, I'll go and get the rest of my calipers out and see if any of them fit. Bastard thing. Right, well, there's some good news. The caliper fits on the disc. The carrier fits as well. And we've also got plenty of clearance around the back. nowhere near the wheel, as you can see, unlike the Bandit one, which is hitting it. So what we'll do is we'll have to make up some new spacers. I'll just put this top hat spacers in off the Bandit one, obviously. But as you can see, the whole carrier can move on it. So I'll need to measure it out, make up a new top hat to come through to the end of this carrier, and then make another spacer for this side of it, so that that is held in place and it can't move side to side. And then I'll have to get some aluminium welded on to the carrier around about here somewhere to come down, I'd imagine. And then I'll have to get the torque arm to fit, same as I did my R1 basically. I don't know why I never checked that caliper for clearance at the wheel and just assumed that it would clear. That's just bloody stupidity, because I had the same issue before with the R1 wheel, and I tried to fit it to my Z and the Triumph wheel, and I tried to fit it to the Z, and the Z wheels are the same as this, so I should have bloody known. However, that's what happens when you're thick. So I'll get some spacers measured up and see if we can get somebody to make them for me, spin them up in the lathe. Right lads, good news, we have a winner, I think. I found this old hanger in a box of brake bits. I think it might be off an EFE or something. However, it's narrower at the top there. So all it'll need, hopefully, is a little skim on the right hand side, because it's fairly central. Let me just show you. That too, the join mark of the calipers there is the centre. So obviously it needs to go over, caliper needs to go over to the right by maybe 2 or 3 mil to centre it in the caliper. You need to have your disc centred in the caliper, your brakes will look worth a fuck. You'll end up wearing out brake pads on one side. Then I'll need to get a spacer made up for the inside here. The old one, where is it? This old one here, it's way too short obviously. This one here doesn't fit it either. So I'll need to get a spacer made up for the part between the hanger and the bearing in the hub. But I'll have to take a couple of mil off of this side here of the hanger, and that should centre it all up nicely, and then I'll be able to use the Bandit. In fact, saying that bloody caliper's not hitting the wheel, is it? Or is it? Why was the other one hitting the wheel? Let's have a little look and see. Oh, by George, I think it's clearing. That would be nice, wouldn't it? If it is clearing. Oh, fuck's sake, phone. Oh, it's clearing because it's the bigger bloody hanger in it, of course, dough. So I still need a bigger disc. But obviously it's not clear with a bigger hanger. Jesus Christ, I'm losing my mind. So that one will do fine. It'll obviously need a paint up, but I'll skim the top. I'll measure it first for skimming. Get this in a lathe, skim a couple of mil off of that until the caliper's centre, and then I'll measure my spacer from here to the hub, and then we'll have a back brake. That'll be nice, won't it? And then we can move on to the sump, which I still haven't done, but I will do. And I still haven't put the spring on, the side stand spring on. I'm hopeless, eh? But I will get back onto this next week. That's my plan. Today I was just filling in time, fannying about with that back caliper, so at least that's one thing done. Okay, we're back again on the School Bandit today. Today's mission is to get the engine mounts in at the front and underneath. See that little red dowel thing? It's actually a dowel that's been covered in tape by the previous owner. I ordered up another dowel, whatever you call them, to fit in the casings, but it's too bloody small. So it was it's my own fault. I should have measured it before I ordered it. It was a 6mm inside and a 8mm outside. I think it probably needs to be 10mm outside. On the brake caliper front at the back there, I put a shout out on Facebook, and I know a few folk with lace, but I didn't want to just ask them outright, so I thought I'll put it on Facebook. If they're keen on doing it, they'll do it, you know. And not fucking one of them bothered their arsehole to offer to do it, you know. I was going to pay them, obviously, you know. So it's ended up going down to a guy called Dave Morris in Kent. Bear in mind, I'm in the north of Scotland, so I'm not sure when I'll see that back again, but I'll imagine it's going to take at least a week, if not longer. I sent it off this morning. The other entertainment today is to, like I say, get the engine mounts tightened, get some of these casings on, get the exhaust on, take the sump off, put on the Bandit sump, and check that exhaust is going to clear. And what else can I do today? Well, I've got a lot of other things to do as well, so if I get that done today, I'll be doing well, because I'm needing to get this paintwork sanded. It's been cleared, so I need to sand it back down, my busa. That's the other bit up there. Turned out quite a good finish on it, to be fair, considering it was done outside and it wasn't a great day. You know, it's not too bad a finish. You can see a reflection in it, which is a good start. So I'm quite happy with it. Like I say, I'll be getting sanded anyway, so it's just to prevent any of this silver lifting when I mask it for the next colours, which will be in these triangles. So I'm going to have to go over all these white tape marks again. Once I've sanded it all down, I'm going to have to retape all this white. And I'm thinking I might put a border tape on, so that it's like white, then silver, then the metal flake inside of these. But I'm not sure. I'd have to order more tape to do that. But yeah, like I say, the finish is okay, so I'm quite happy with that. But today's entertainment is back to this bitch, and we'll get that done. I also ordered up the rubbers. See the front of the oil cooler mounts? There's little rubber U-grooved things that sit in there that your oil cooler bracket sits in. They've arrived, so I might be able to get that on. If the sump fits and the exhaust clears, I might be able to get my oil cooler on as well. And then I can measure up for cutting the lines. That'd be good. But I'll just see how time plays out. So we've got the sump off. I just need to check with somebody more knowledgeable than me to see whether this is a Bandit strainer pickup or a slab side, because the crankcase that was on the bike is off a slab side, I believe. So I need to check that this strainer is going to be deep enough, because the Bandit pans get quite a deep cutout on it. I want to make sure that this is going to be deep enough to pick up the oil. That would be an absolute disaster if I started up and wrecked the engine because of oil starvation, you know. So I'll take a measurement of this, stick it on the internet, and see if anybody can confirm or deny whether it's the same as the Bandit. Hopefully it is. In the meantime, I'll stick the Bandit cover on and check that the exhaust headers clear the casing. So rather than pester everybody on the internet, there is a simpler solution to check, and that's just to put the casings up against each other. If you ask me, they're pretty close to being exactly the same depth. So if the pickup works in this one, I'm fairly certain it'll work in this one. Right, I'm just going to stick it on. Okay, so that's the Bandit sump. I've just put a couple of bolts in to hold it in place. But doesn't it look so much nicer, all painted and shiny? Right, I'll try the exhaust on, I'll show you what it looks like. Right, exhaust fits. It's just loose in at the top, but it's most definitely going to clear that. So that's good. However, before I get too carried away, I need to put these engine mounts in at the front. These bolts that go into these two holes here that are missing, and the bottom engine mount, so that's next in the agenda. But at least the exhaust fits, that's good. So I'm not sure if I mentioned before, but putting the engine in and all the rest, it's the start of your problems, really. Well, start of the real work and the rebuild. I've put this bolt in at the top, it's too short. And the reason why it's too short is because it came out the slab side. And the slab side mounts are, let me just show you the width difference. That's your skinny little slab side one. And that's your mega chunky Bandit one. So we're about 10-15mm short in the bolt. We'll have to go and see if we get a 15mm longer one of these. Wish me luck. Right, these things here are a pain in the chunt trying to get into the back of the engine because there's basically no room. So what I want to do is take the sample up again, just so that I can try and cram my sausage fingers up the fucking back here with great difficulty to try and hold that nut thing on or in place while I tighten the top one. It's a fucking job. However, it's on now. Just needs tightened up. I'll put the other side on loosely and then I'll just tighten them all up. As you can see, I found a longer bolt, but it's not a stainless socket head, which is a bit of a disappointment. But it'll just have to do. Hopefully nobody will be looking that closely. Or what I might do is I might buy a couple of socket heads to replace them at a later date, but the price of stainless bolts is absolutely ridiculous. If you bought new stainless bolts or everything, it'd end up costing you, I reckon you'd be a couple £100. Because the back caliper and the front caliper mounting bolts, they were about £23 or something for 6 friggin' bolts. What a rip-off. This is the kind of crap that really gets my tits. I've just taken off the oil strainer here, right? And some prick has decided not to bother spending £3 or whatever it is in the gasket and just smear it to death with fucking instant gasket. It's immediately going to go into your filter, or maybe if you're unlucky it'll get picked up and end up in your cams and everything else. What's the matter with these people? Are they that fucking clueless or what? This sounds like me having a rant here, a moan fest this morning, but it just pisses me off. Why don't you just do it properly? It takes the same time. Anyway, I'm having a real grief getting this cross member in. I've taken off the bolt in the middle here. Where is it? This one here, and I've slackened this one off to see if that would help manoeuvre it about. I've not got much strength in my hands, so I've been trying to use this to lever it round to get it to catch. But this end here is well off as well, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out and get the jack, and I'm going to jack under the engine so that I can gently push the engine up so that I can get this to fit, because these are attached to the engine mounts at the front. This cross brace part is attached to the engine mounts at the back. Around here, if you see my shitty fucking camera work, that nut at the back there goes into this cross piece. Yeah. So that's what we do. Get a jack it up and see if we can get these bastard engine mounts in. Right. That's the engine mounts all tightened up all round, and that took a lot longer than it should have done. It took me about an hour and a half fanning about with all these bolts, loosening them, tightening them, trying to get this front bar straightened up. Anyway, it's on now. They're all tight. Good. Here's some more of Mr. Instant Gasket's work, as you can see. I finally get down to turning this engine over, which is probably something I should have done before I painted it, just to make sure, because it's a total unknown to me. But it's turning over, which is nice. It's not locked up, and it sounds like it's got plenty of compression. Feels like it anyway. So next up, I'll just get this bottom mount to fit here, and I'm going to put some of these casings on, but first of all I'll be scraping off all that hideous cack there, and I need to put a connector on the end of one of these leads. Can't remember which one it is I broke, but I'll have to put a new 2-pin connector on it. What else am I going to do today? Maybe fit the footrests. That's the brake light switch there. I've got a new disc coming for the back. It's off a CB 900 Hornet. It's a stainless one off eBay, 40 odd quid, which is brilliant. And it's the same PCD, but a wider diameter for the caliper to fit. My caliper hanger, I put an advert on Facebook, seeing if any of my mates, supposedly, with lathes would fancy skimming a couple of mil off it and making me up a spacer. Not fucking one of them answered. So it's away down to Kent, the other end of the country, to get a spacer machined up and 2 mil off the carrier. I sent that off today, but that'll take at least a week, maybe a week and a half. So I might actually open up this clutch pack, just see what the clutch is like in the back of it, see what the fibres are like. But that's today's entertainment anyway, so like I say, I'll crack on with this bottom mount before I forget it. Okay. Right, well, we've got our mounts on finally. I'll wait to check out this clutch. I've been removing all the fucking instant gasket that Mr. Prickhead's been putting all over the shop. Still need to get a little bit off of there. Where am I? Need to get some of this off. But we're going to have a look in the clutch and see what like she is. Right. My goodness. Actually looks alright. Oh, fuck me, I'm dropping bits all over the shop. Yeah, those clutch plates look fine. Just a stick them back in, tighten it up. We'll go with that. Better not lose that washer. Okay, now if you look down here, see all this black shit? That's why you don't use instant gasket, okay? Because that'll be floating about your engine, just ready to block up an oil way or something terminal along that lines. So don't use it. That's my advice for the day. Sage advice it is too. Right, clutch is back together. Let's say, just going to give this a clean up, get the casings on. I'm missing a dowel for here and for here, I believe. So I'll see if the one that I got for the other casing fits. As you can see, they're just clown shoes is just filled with instant gasket. It looks at. That's clever, isn't it? Anyway, I'm not going to keep moaning because, like I say, it's turned into a moan fest. I'll just crack on and get it sorted. Right, we're slowly getting rid of this pile of stuff. Here's my footrests. I built them up. Obviously, I need to replace that bolt. I'm not using that rusty old pile of scrap in it, but it'll do just to line them up. I don't need these. They're for sale. I don't need the airbox covers because I'm running K&Ns. These are the plastic stuff. You can see they're absolutely caked with fucking dust. That was my fault for sanding in the kitchen. And I've got this, the slave cylinder part itself, it needs painted. Of course I left it in the box of bits, didn't I? It was in one of them little plastic tubs, so I'm going to have to paint it. Great. I don't really have to paint it, I could just throw it in, to be honest. That's how fussy I want to be, I suppose. And we'll stick these casings back on. Oh good, there's a dowel in that one. And there's a dowel in that one, that's fine. That saves me looking for dowels. For that casing anyway. Unfortunately there's no other dowels, I don't think. There's one missing out of there. So that'll still have to be sorted. So like I say, I'm going to stick some of these casings on. What you do need to do it properly, right, is to get your gasket, put a light smear of engine oil on it, both sides, stick it onto the engine block and tighten it on the casing. And that way when you take the casings off, because you've oiled it, the gasket won't stick to the engine block. It'll also help it to seal, yeah. So that's the proper way to do it, just in case you're wondering. I've got some stainless bolts for these casings, so I'm going to dig them out and fit them. We're back in footrests. I bought this off a Bandit, $6.50 I believe it was, because it was cheaper, and it's absolutely mint. Guy kindly included all the bolts, the flipping clevis pin, even a new circlip for it, which is down the bottom there. And What's his name? Blues Bike Bits. So if you're needing stuff, give him a shout. His parts are very clean, good quality stuff, second hand and not too expensive. But you get what you pay for. So I'm going to put this on to the back of these. You can see where it goes. It slides in to these two bolts. These two bolts here connect to these two holes here, obviously. The clevis pin here connects to this part here. And like I say, he's even given me the bolts to connect it up to the flipping footrests, which is a bonus. Saves me buying more bolts at extreme cost. And I'll obviously sort this out at a later date. I'll stick it on for now, but it's not staying like that. Obviously, I've got some Tygon hosing. I'll hide it somewhere up under the seat so that you don't get to see it, because they're not exactly the prettiest of things in motorbikes. So I'm going to fit this up and then stick these footrests on. I also found these M8 by 40, I think they are. Are they 40? Yeah, they're 40, I think. So I'm going to use these because they're nice button heads with a washer. I had socket heads on the other footrest, but they look hideous. So I'll just have a washer and then these button heads. You see, this is the stuff that determines a good build from a harsh job, if you like. If you use decent fixings at the end, it shows in the quality of the finished bike, you know. So that's what I'm aiming for. I'm aiming for a decent quality finished bike that people won't be able to walk around and go, oh, look, he's used the rusty old fucking bolts again, or whatever they might want to do. Not that I give a toss what people think, but I just want it done right, you know. It'll make me feel happier riding it. So still get those little spots that are annoying me in the foot pegs, but the back plates, but what can you do? Live with it, I guess. Right, the footrests are fitted, but we have a problem. I don't know if you can see from there, but quite a bit of bloody play in them, isn't there? This right hand side one's even worse. Obviously I'll have to take it off and see what I've missed. I've obviously missed something. I mean, that's just me using my hand. It's not meant to move that much, surely. Anyway, we'll see. I'll take it off and have a look, see if I've missed something. Maybe there's like a locating thing in the back of these rubbers. I'll have a look. Right, it turns out the problem is that I'm missing rubber spacers like this, both behind and in front of the footrests that sit in the bush. So I've made one up so far. I've used it's meant to be an 8.4 mil hole in the middle. I've only got a 9 mil, so it's a 9 mil hole in the middle. And for the outside diameter, I've just used a bit of, I think it's like 22 mil copper pipe. I actually tried cutting the rubber with this by chamfering the end of it to try and make it into a punch similar to this, but it wasn't having any of it. The rubber's just too tough. It's like 3 mil rubber, should only really be about 2, but by the time it all compresses down, it'll be 2. So I'll get 12 of these to cut, and then I need to find some washers the right size. So this is just, like I say, yeah, the joys of building bikes. See, this is just stuff that you never ever take account of, and it's just problems you get along the way that you have to overcome. Adapt, improvise, and overcome, as Clint Eastwood said. So that's what we're doing. I'm cutting them out with scissors. Tried cutting them out with a Stanley, it wasn't having it. So cut the outside diameter, the outside part with scissors, and then punch the hole in the middle with that 9 mil hole punch there. Right, so I'll get another dozen of these to make. That's the discs cut, I just need to punch the hole centres now. Right, that's the pegs on now properly, they're not moving. No play in there. I've also stuck the gasket on for the sump. I'm using Cometic gaskets because I find them the best. And also smear a little bit of grease on both sides, and it'll stop it from sticking when you come to remove it, okay? This is a trick my old man taught me. He was in garages for 50 odd years, so I think he knows what he's talking about. Okay, so we'll stick that on and leave the rest of this covers on. We interrupt this rebuild to bring you a tight arse announcement. I've just had a delivery from Temu, believe it or not. And I've got copper washers. These are like for the back of your tank. You know the things. I'll put a sleeve inside them, an M6 sleeve, and then another rubber on top, obviously a washer. You can buy these from Suzuki if you want for about 30 quid, I think they are, or whatever. They're not cheap, I know that. And I also got these brake lines. You're probably thinking, oh my god, what's he buying brake lines off Temu for? They're bound to kill him stone dead. Well, you might say so. They might. Who knows? But I tell you what, there's absolutely nothing wrong with these. The only difference I can tell between these and like Goodridge is that these are slightly stiffer. You know, they're not so easy to bend round a corner, so, say, because they're obviously the stainless braided lines. They're supposedly stainless. I doubt they are, but I'll tell you what. For this little lot, that's like 4 lines that I bought. 2 for the front brake, a clutch, and a back brake. For that in the UK, you'd be 100 quid minimum, right? Do you want to see how much I paid for the whole lot? The brake lines, the rubbers, and the washers? 24 quid, which you're probably thinking, no way. There you go, there's my order. Delivered today, 7 items, $23.95. Get in. Don't we love a bargain? So, based on the quality of these, I bought one set. These are for the 600, right? I bought one set for the 600. I know they're red, and red maybe isn't everybody's favourite colour, but I just fancied something a bit different since there's some red in the seat and some red in the decals and that. So I thought I'll get a set for the 600, and if they're any good, I'll get a set for my decent school bike. So based on the condition of these and the quality of them, shall we say, I mean, 24 quid. Can't go wrong with that, can you? What I'm going to do is I'm going to fit them, bleed them up, make sure they're okay, there's no leaks or anything ridiculous. And if they're okay, which I suspect they will be, the guys get good feedback, I'm going to buy another set. 24 quid for a set of brake lines. Get in. And I'll tell you what was dearer for the banjo bolts in the UK, for stainless banjo bolts, were these lines than I was for the lines, them, and the washers by about flipping 15 quid. How's that? How does that work? Right, we're jumping outside to the yellow Bandit. I've stuck the brake lines on. The bleed nipple that I got sent is the wrong pitch. And the double banjo for the master cylinder I get sent is also the wrong pitch. So they very kindly told me they're going to send out the right pitch ones for free, which is nice. But still doesn't get me brakes, does it? So I'll stick the back one on. Haven't done it yet. And that way, I'll just, once the bolts arrive, I'll just bolt it up at the top. One thing about these cheap brake lines though, yeah, you can't swivel the tops of them, you know, so it's going to be a bit of a wrestling match getting them on there, but we'll do what we can. I've got that clip to fit for the tackle cable, which is blowing in the wind there as well. But I'll stick the back brake line on first. Okay, so I fitted these Temu lines, and I've got to be honest, although they're pretty well made, there's a major flaw in that the ends, you can't twist the ends like you can with Goodridge. So what I've done is I've taken them off. They will fit, but it just means you have to twist the lines, you know, it's a bit of a fight. But I've stuck these Goodridge ones on instead. It's a second-hand set I bought years ago from a lad in old school. Can't even remember who it was, to be honest. But they came off a Bandit 12 and they fit. So I'm just going to use them in this one. You know, better the devil you know and all that. Put the back one on as well. It's rooted up across the top of the swing arm. Then at the front it comes like back in itself, but that's the way they're meant to be. That's the way they are from factory. So stuck a few more stickers on as well. Bit of Johnny, you know. What else did I put on? That one there. A couple on the other side as well. So that's today's entertainment with this one. I've still got this throttle to sort out. I'm going to tackle that tomorrow. Sort out the fuel lines under the tank and that and get it running. I'm going to take the battery out tonight as well. Just once I finish this, I'll take the battery out and charge it up. And I've just ordered an M8 by 80 for the can to clear the swing arm. And then I think we'll be all the bath. We'll be ready to rock in this one. So, quite happy with it. See what the engine's like. Take it to there. In 3, 2, 1, you're back in the room. Right, folks. I've fitted these casings on, both this side and the other side. Can you see them? Yeah, of course you can. There's a little dent in this front casing. I never really noticed it while I was painting it. Noticed it when I fitted it though. And the orange gaskets, don't ask me, that's just what came from eBay. And they seem to be slightly large, but we'll live with it. Next job is to figure out the length of, in here, there's a clutch push rod. That hole it comes out of, your clutch. So I need to figure out the length that I need because it's a GSXR clutch on a Bandit engine with a Bandit casing. So what I'll do is I'll fit the casing. I'll try a push rod that I already have and see how short it is or long it is or whatever. Then we'll just measure it for there. Or what I might do is I might put the casing on without the master, the slave cylinder, and then I'll take a measurement from the face of the casing to the back of the slave cylinder, and then I'll be able to measure from here to the back of the slave cylinder, and that'll give me the length that it needs to protrude from here, and then I just need to work out the length that it goes into the slave cylinder, if that makes sense. So I'm going to leave it at that. Not sure if I mentioned, got the foot pegs on, got the side stand spring in, finally. Wasn't too much of a struggle, to be honest. Motocross bikes and trials bikes are harder, to be honest, with springs. But I guess they've got to withstand being flipping landed for 30 feet. But yeah, so I'll leave it at that for today. I'll go and get this casing on and do some measurements. I'm giving this slave cylinder a look, and it looks quite wild. I've got a seal kit on the table there, so I might just replace the seal in it just for peace of mind more than anything. If I did that, I could give it a quick squirt of paint as well, I guess, just to tidy it up, out of a rattle can or something even, just to make it look a bit nicer. So I think I'll just do that. I'll get the compressor on, stick the air line in here, and that'll shoot this out at 100 miles an hour, most likely. And I'll see what like it is. If it's okay, I'll maybe reuse it. If it's looking like it's been trawled out of canal, I'll replace it. Welcome back. I'm doing a seat recovering. This is a spare seat I got with my 600 Bandit, so I just thought I'd have a go, Now, I originally bought this. This is like a nail gun, but it fires in staples, but they're narrow staples. So what I ended up doing was just ripping the cover to bits. So I bought another bloody staple gun. This one's miles better, and obviously it fires in these staples, which are probably the right staples for it. I've seen a guy on YouTube, watched a couple of videos, and it's not too bad, For a first attempt, I'm quite happy with this so far. I've not finished it, obviously, still got the back to do. But what I did was I started at the front, stuck a few staples in at the front, and then went to the back. Just stuck a couple in there just to stretch it out. And then what you have to do is when you get to this bit, because it's on a curve, you have to get the heat gun out. Well, you have to get the heat gun out quite a lot, to be fair. And heat it all up and it'll stretch into shape. And the same when you're coming round these corners at the sides. So if you look at that corner there, you need the heat gun on the vinyl there as well to stretch it. And what to do is not to go like this. What you want to do is put one here and then get to the point, pull the point in, get to the low spot, which is here. You want to heat that up and pull that right in as well. Ping one in there. You know what I mean? You don't want to just go like 1, 2, 3, 4. You want to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then like fill in the gaps if you like. But while you're filling in the gaps, you can keep pulling it with your thumb and stick this gun down the back of your thumb if you like, and then it works in the principle of like what you press on it. See the bit in the end there? So obviously when you do that, you can staple your wheelie bin. So that's how powerful it is. It'll go through that plastic, no problem. It's fed off the compressor at about, I think it's about 4 bar or something. So I'm just going to carry on with this, heat it up a bit. My next stretch, right, I've stopped there obviously, so what I'll do is I turn it over every now and again, see when it changes direction, and it looks like it's changing direction round about here. So I'll put one in here in the corner, but I'll heat it up, pull it in, and then staple it, and then I'll probably put one halfway, and then, like I say, join the dots. So I'll come back once it's done and you can see what you think. But this is a gun I got, if it makes any odds. It's a Sure Bonder 10,000. But don't get yourself one of these. This is more for like nailing brad nails and like long staples that are thin. It'd be good for construction. It's not good for seat covering, that's for sure. So, and then obviously once I finish it, I'll trim all this excess off, and it should be looking quite nice, I think. I'm quite glad the way there's an indent in the seat there where there's obviously been a strap or something, I presume, but I'm not putting the strap back on obviously, so, but it's quite cool the way it's just followed the indent of the strap. Right, I'm just about there, so I'm going to heat this bit up, pull it over in the corner somewhere over here, and then like I say, work my way back. This is no tutorial. If you want a tutorial, go on YouTube, just to show you what I'm up to. Death by staple. What do you reckon then? Looks alright, eh? In the bottom. And I think it looks alright at the top. Quite happy with that. Oh, there's a bit there I need to sort out. This bit's pretty good. Not bad for a first attempt. Okay, so I blew the piston out of the slave cylinder, as you can see. If you look in there, don't know how well it's going to pick it up with this light. It's needing a clean, shall we say, to put it mildly. There's a lot of crap in there, so that needs to get cleaned out. And I went and made a mistake of wiping this seal, but before I did, it was it's seen a bit of wear. I'm just going to replace it, to be fair, because I've got this kit anyway. But yeah, you get a new spring in it as well, so no new piston in it, but hey ho. The piston's not too bad. I'll put that in the wheel, clean it up a bit in the wheel. Can't put this in the wheel, unfortunately, so what I'll do is I'm not going to use any sandpaper or anything along that lines. I'm going to use a cleaning agent to clean the inside of it. I'll obviously use something to get rid of all this corrosion around the edges and the outside, and on the chamfer at the top here. There's like a 45 degree and just above my nail here. So I'll clean all the corrosion and salty crap off of there, and I'm going to give it a squish with some U-Pol black if there's enough in the tin. If there's not enough in the tin, I won't be giving it a squish with anything. I'll just clean it up, spit it, because the only part you see is the end, and the end doesn't look too bad, to be fair, you know, so it's something like that, but it's not that bad. But yeah, just another job. I mean, I had this anyway, so I'm just going to use it. I'm fed up of looking at it sitting on my kitchen table, to be honest, so that's my reasoning. It's got a new rubber seal in there as well, so we'll get that done. But first things first, clean up this piston, clean up this bore, and then we're ready to go. But the engine's been sitting for a couple of years anyway, you know. So I mean, it's a lot easier doing this whilst before the thing's running, you know. Then you discover that it's leaking hydraulic fluid or whatever, you know. It's a lot easier just to do it while you're building the bike. So it's just another one of them small jobs that you have to do. Yeah. Another quick one. When you're putting this rubber seal on, make sure you put it the right way round. So that's the correct way that it should be fitted. Yeah, it's obviously got a slope on it, an angle on it, I guess. So when you fit it the right way. There's a good lad. Cheers, bye. Okay, that's it all cleaned up. You can see the edge there's no more salty corrosion and shit. And in the barrel, I'm not sure if you'll see there or not, but it's I've got rid of all the rubbish down the bottom, and I've cleaned all the walls up, if you like. Gave the piston a quick couple of minutes in the wheel, and it's come up like new. So now it's time to fit the rubber seal, which is this one here. We'll fit that to that, and then we'll put it all back together. That's another job off the list. I'm going to paint it, I think. If I've got any black paint in that tin, I'm going to give it a squirt. If I don't, then I'm not. So I'll put this back together, but that's another job off the list, and I won't have to look at this again for years. So happy days. Right, can you spot the deliberate mistake? Yes, I put it in the wrong way round. I was just trying it for size, and I pushed it in. What a dick. So I'm going to have to get the compressor out and blow it out. Put it in the right way. My defence, it was about 11:30 last night, and it was a very long day. I was up early, so I'll sort that out, and then that'll be that job done. Now today we're on to the oil cooler. Obviously got my oil cooler here, all the way from China, and I made up these brackets. Showed you how to do that in a previous episode. I'm not going to go over that again. And these are just protective caps that are on it. The fittings I've got, these are like swivel fittings, so you can, guess what, swivel them. Yeah. Talk about the obvious. So, stating the obvious, we've got swivel fittings there for the lines. I've got the two oil cooler adapter mounts for the bottom where it goes into the engine. So this will go in here, and this will get screwed into the engine. I'm going to put some PTFE tape on them. I don't suppose you have to, but it won't go amiss, will it? And I've got enough hose to do these two oil lines. So that's going to be today's entertainment. What I'll do is I'll fit the oil cooler to the bike. I'll fit these to the end of the cooler and also to the engine at the bottom. And then once I've done that, I can properly measure the lines. And what I'll do is I'll use a bit of this cable to measure it with, because it's probably not a dissimilar consistency to the oil lines. You know, if you use a bit of string, you might be pulling it too tight or something that'll end up with short lines, you know. So that's the plan. Or the other way you can do it is if you basically cut this in half, leaving yourself plenty of tails, you know what I mean, plenty of length on the other side at the engine. You can fit them in there, mount the thing up to the bike, and then when you put your bottom ones into the engine, you can just take the braided steel up to it, mark it, and then cut it and fit the steel to the fitting. But that seems the harder way of doing it. When you're cutting this stuff, as you can see here, what I use is a thin disc grinder, and I use masking tape wrapped tightly around the braided steel, because the last thing you want to do is for all this braided steel at the end to come away from it, you know, because then it'll just look crap and you'll probably struggle to get it inside the fittings. So that's today's entertainment. As you can see, the cooler is mounted on these brackets, and I've also got a bit of rubber between the cooler and the frame. That's the bolts that are holding it in. The bottom, it just slots into these little rubbers that I've got off at eBay. They're genuine GSXR Bandit ones. They're just like a little U groove, a grooved U fitting that sits in the metal, and this just slots into it. This just sits inside it at the bottom. So it's rubber mounted at the bottom, and it's rubber mounted at the top. And the reason for that is to stop vibration or the engine vibes from cracking the cooler or the mounts. So that's today's entertainment. I'm going to crack on. I'm going to go out and blow this piston out for a start off and put it in the right way, and then I'll get on to the cooler. Alright? Well, these oil lines even, decided to make them myself. What a fucking nightmare of a job. Don't do it, just buy them pre-made. Trust me, it's an absolute nightmare. Getting these bits started in here, I think the hole for this is smaller than than the diameter of the flipping hose, but I eventually did it by sticking this part in the vise. Yeah, stick this part here in the vise, and then just literally forcing this in, turning it at the same time. When you watch YouTube videos, they make it look easy. It's not easy, trust me. And this end here, I'll stick a little bit of tape on it, because when I forced it in, there was a couple of tiny little bits of wire, like about 2 or 3 strands that were poking out the end here. So I thought, rather than stab myself on them, I'll just put a bit of black tape on it, nobody will notice. But yeah, what an absolute see you next Tuesday of a job. Don't do it. Also, I see my disc has arrived. Doesn't look like the one that I ordered, but well, we'll try it for size and see if it fits. But yeah, that's not the one I ordered. But if it fits, I'll take it. In fact, it's not going to bloody fit because it's got 5 holes in it, by the looks of it. Well, maybe not. I'll open it up and see that it fits the wheel and get it fitted. But I'm not bothered. It's a disc. A disc's a disc. £45. Can't argue that. But first off, I'm going to fit these, what I've now christened the bastard oil lines from hell. I'm going to fit them. I need to tighten up these bits, these fittings onto the end. So I'll put this bit in the vise and then get shifters on here, tighten them right up till they come to the end. And that way, there's no way this hose is going anywhere. But yeah, what an absolute bastard of a job. Don't do it. Just buy the oil lines made to measure. Trust me. Nightmare. Right, this is why you should never try and just put up with what you've done. Right, this is the one that I told you, the little couple of bits sticking out of it. So I've tried to screw the fitting down. As you can see, it's pushed the hose out because that tape was tight to the fitting. There's also more of the strands coming out as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bin this hose, and I'm going to get some more hose, and I'm going to get it cut. As you can see, I've also fucked up the fitting a little bit, putting it in the vise, trying to tighten the bloody thing down. But it's like a 28 or a 30mm bloody spanner you need, which I don't have. So I was just using mole grips like a cowboy. I should have used a shifter or something, but I didn't have one to hand. So that's a bit of a bummer, isn't it? And like I say, I've fucking trashed the fitting pretty much. The other end's the same. Get the right tools for the job. Don't be a dick like I am. So that's not good. So I'll order up some hose and try again, I suppose. Right, the old disc's off, the new one's on, but I'm not using these bolts again because they're absolute crap. Look at the state of that. That's been out once. Mangled. There's no way they're going back in. I've ordered up a set of stainless bolts. Not only that, get yourself decent quality tools. It's done to the fucking T30. I mean, they were Loctited in, but they weren't that tight, you know what I mean? I wasn't leaning on it or anything. It's twisted the whole end of the thing. So, don't buy that cheap shite. Get yourself something decent. So, that's going to stay off for just now until my bolts arrive next Tuesday. I'm going to order up some more hose. It'll hopefully be here next week as well. And we'll have another bash at those fittings, or
I'll maybe see how much it is for a set of lines that are made up. It'd be a lot bloody easier. Anyway, that's what we're facing, okay? So we'll leave it at that. My new cheapo levers have arrived. I'm putting them onto these. These are the old master cylinders off my Hayabusa. As you can see by the pretty cheap shitty caps that are on it. I never bought them or put them on before, you see. And this one here, that screw looks pretty mangled. That screw will undo. But I mean, the levers on it didn't match when I got it. And asked the guy why. He said he had two of these, but the clutch one didn't fit or didn't work with the master cylinder or something along that lines. So I'll need to get two new tops that actually just look like normal tops, and I'm going to try the levers first, see if they fit. It's just a case of putting a screwdriver in there and undoing this nut here, and the lever will come out. Then I can try the new one for size. I'm just looking at it. Kind of looks the same as that, doesn't it? Let's see if the clutch looks the same as the clutch. That'll be the bit that decides, I guess. Well, kinda looks the same. We'll fit them and see what like. But that's it for this week. I'm going to wrap it up there because I'm running out of space in my phone for keeping videos. Like I say, I'll take these off, change them out. I'm thinking of just pulling the pin and some new lines after the absolute ball ache of trying to get these ones in. The only difference is it'll mean that they're mounted at the top of the oil cooler. I'll check the lengths are going to fit, but I mean, 42 quid. By the time I bought the hose and two fittings to replace the ones that I fucked, I'd be probably more than 42 quid, to be honest. So I might do that. I'll measure the sizes, see if they're going to fit first, but I need to re-drill my cooler mount because after I've added the rubbers at the bottom the thing sits into, the mounts are actually marginally too high, so I'm just going to elongate the holes slightly to make them mount a bit higher so that the bottom of the cooler is actually sitting in the rubbers. Okay, right, so I've got the levers on. They look not too bad. There is a barrel and comes out of here. You need to take it out. It's got a hole in the middle for the push rod to go through. So don't forget to fit it. You can see the hole in the end there. Push rod goes through that hole. The barrel sits in the middle, and the barrel's got a hole that runs through it this way. So the pin goes in there basically. And if you do that, it's all tickety-boo. There it is there, look, that's the barrel I'm on about. I've managed to get these things off with the mangled screws, etc. Master cylinders look okay, but they should do, because the bike was only on the road a couple of years ago, and when I took these off, I drained them down. Don't leave brake fluid in your flipping masters, whatever you do. So, I mean, all the plastic and the rubbers needing a clean up, obviously, but they're okay, you know, so they can get reused. As can this one's. That one's stuck in the underside of the lid there. So, yeah, I'm just going to order up some new caps, some new screws, obviously, and stainless probably. Stick a little bit of copper slip in it. Yeah, I know, don't put stainless into alloy, blah, blah. But I've never had a problem with it. If you put some copper slip on it, it's usually fine, as long as you don't leave it for 20 years and then expect it to open, you know what I mean? So that wraps up this week's entertainment. I'm away to go on eBay and do yet more credit card bending.